In July 2015, the state of California paused when 8-year-old Madyson Middleton went missing in Santa Cruz. After the shocking discovery of her remains disposed of in a dumpster, all eyes were on the mystery teenage suspect, who later would be found guilty of the horrific crime. His name was Adrian Gonzalez. Welcome back to Twisted Minds. My name is James, and today we will be looking at the tragic death of Madyson Middleton. Madyson Middleton went missing from the Tannery Art Center on July 25, 2015. At the time, the Tannery Art Center was a complex that housed several apartments in Santa Cruz. Madyson lived there with her mother, and so did Adrian. So, you see, the two were neighbors. Barely 24 hours after Madyson was declared missing, things took an unfortunate turn when she was found dead in a large trash container. Just like that, a missing person case had become a murder investigation. According to the district attorney of Santa Cruz at the time, whoever killed Madyson took great lengths to hide her body because they had been looking for her prior to that time. And that just made the case even more nerve-wracking. If you were wondering, the Tannery Art Center is a facility constructed for the public, which means that it is a non-profit project. The facility contains about 100 budget lofts. Around the time of Maddie's murder, the building housed about 250 occupants, out of which 50 were children. In addition, the center also has a common area designed for children to play whenever they want to. According to reports, Adrian was said to have kidnapped and murdered Madyson the same night she went missing. Some might even say that the 8-year-old's life had come to an end the moment she packed her scooter and followed Adrian home because he had promised to get her ice cream. Following that incident, Madyson did not get to see the light of day again. The next day, she was found duct taped, strangled, stabbed, and almost taken sexual advantage of. Although it is very common to trace the behaviors of a serial killer back to their home, the same could not be said for Adrian. Neighbors testified that the boy's mother was quite friendly, and that sometimes, when it was the season for holidays, she would prepare meals in large portions and invite her neighbors so that they could eat together. Taking all these into consideration leaves you with one thought swindling around your head. How did Adrian grow up to be a monster? According to reports, Adrian was an amiable and popular figure in the housing complex, who was mostly seen performing tricks with his yo-yo and sometimes playing around with his skateboard. One of the occupants at the Tannery Art Center also affirmed this, saying, "He was a lovely boy. As far as I know, he is a lovely boy. I think there's something horribly wrong if he did this, and I hope he gets help. I hope he doesn't go to jail for the rest of his life." Even the boyfriend of Madyson's mother, Kirby Scudder, had something good to say about Adrian. He described Adrian as a soft-spoken, admired, well-liked, and well-rounded teenager. On the other hand, Adrian's Instagram account told a different tale altogether. Although his Instagram account has since been taken down, it was said that his handles were something like awkward yo-yoer, and in his Instagram bio, he called himself a 15-year-old yo-yoer that lives in Santa Cruz. It was also reported that the very day Madyson went missing, Adrian had posted a photo with a caption which he copied from the lyrics of a song. The caption read, "The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had." Despite the lyrics being from one of Gary Jules's popular song covers known as Mad World, you have to admit that the line is quite chilling. Before Adrian's account was taken down, it was reviewed by some reporters, and people who did the job mentioned that the accounts had a number of posts where he expressed how anxious, lonely, and unloved he felt. The reporters also found one of his posts on Instagram where he posted a photo of himself with the caption, "Wear all black and try to look powerful and hide the crippling anxiety toward the future and constant worry that I'll never find someone who loves me." Whether these posts were just a puberty-driven teenage phase or expression of true mental illness, the sentiment surrounding Adrian stood the same. A well-rounded, kind young man. So the ultimate question is, what could explain Adrian's motives to commit such a horrible crime, where an innocent young girl had no choice but to pay the ultimate price? Jeffrey Rossell, the district attorney at the time, had said that they couldn't quite figure out the reason Adrian murdered Madyson. He said, "People do things for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes we understand them, sometimes we don't." The defense attorney in charge of Adrian's case, Larry Bigman, was however bent on proving that Adrian could seek rehabilitation in the juvenile justice system. He said that Adrian didn't have the intricacy to carry out the murder of Madyson. In his words, "He's not a super sleuth. Gonzalez is a socially awkward, shy, and suicidal boy." That combined with the stress of home life, school life, and social life, led him to take someone else's life instead of his own. His emotions hijacked his brain. He was an anxious flea on a hot brick. He didn't have the courage to kill himself, so he had to do something. On the other hand, the prosecutor in charge of Adrian's case had a very different opinion. According to him, Adrian's crime was one of the most egregious and shocking crimes in Santa Cruz. He added that all the while Adrian torturously did all that he did with Madyson up until he killed her. He was neither remorseful nor regretful. And while the police and FBI agents went searching for Madyson, he was just so calm. Prosecutor Vasquez said, "He's calm and very matter-of-fact, casually playing with his yo-yo." Even after Adrian got arrested and was being led away by the police, his face was devoid of emotion. According to the prosecutor, and in opposition to the above statement made by Adrian's defense attorney, Adrian is a cold, calculated, sexual, deviant killer who can't be rehabilitated. We're dealing with lifelong disorders. This is not a quick fix, and there is no guarantee. Adrian's confessions would later be read out in court, and sympathizers of the Middletons would not help but cringe, especially considering how graphic the confession was. One extremely disturbing part of the confession was how Adrian had allegedly opened up to a detective and said that the thought of Madyson dying made him sexually aroused. Adrian would later reveal to the police that he also stabbed Madyson when he found out that she wasn't dead, even after putting her inside a bag. After Madyson's parents had filed a missing persons report, the police and even FBI agents began to search to find their daughter. According to KTVU's Janine De La Vega, while these agents were searching for Madyson, Adrian would go around spinning his yo-yo and asking if there had been any news concerning the search. It was also recorded that Adrian was so interested in knowing if they had found anything that he went around asking for updates. Eventually, the police and FBI agents saw in a surveillance video Adrian carting the body of Madyson, who appeared dead at the time, and throwing it into a large trash container at the Tannery Arts Complex. Shortly after the police and FBI agents found the body of Madyson, Adrian had tried to make a run for it because he was also present at the scene. However, he was arrested before he had the chance. According to Cron 4 reports, Adrian revealed while in custody that he had thought of committing suicide while the police were searching for Madyson. After Adrian's arrest, his scheduled first appearance in the courtroom before Santa Cruz Superior Judge was postponed. On the same day, however, his defense attorney, Larry Bigham, had told the reporters gathered outside, "Our job is to review evidence and conduct our investigation and make sure that the minor, like every citizen accused, receives a fair trial. At the end of the day, I am confident that this case will be handled professionally and thoroughly and fairly." According to the district attorney of Santa Cruz, Adrian was not only found guilty of murder, but also kidnapping and about 4 offenses relating to sexual crimes. And for that reason, if Adrian got convicted, he would get sentenced to life imprisonment. However, Adrian could not get such a sentence because he was still a teenager at the time. At the conclusion of Adrian's hearing in 2017, John Salazar, the Superior Court Judge of Santa Cruz, ruled that Adrian could now be tried under adult proceedings as he was already 18. According to Salazar, he based his ruling on evidence that Gonzalez was sophisticated, intelligent, and observant. He also mentioned that there was barely enough time for Adrian to get rehabilitated by the operations of juvenile justice, and that Adrian's case should be tried in adult courts if the gravity of the crime he committed is anything to go by. In 2019, however, a 1391 bill was passed by the state Senate that children who are younger than 15 cannot be transferred to court for adults. Shortly after the bill was passed, John Salazar came out to say that it was unconstitutional. And as a result, Bigham, Adrian's defense attorney, appealed to the state Supreme Court because of Salazar's response. He made this move because if he were successful, Adrian would be sent back to juvenile court. Bigham said, "That decision should come down soon. All of this is taking too long for everyone." It no doubt takes an emotional toll on the victim's family, and it has put Adrian in an adult jail with more sophisticated criminals with no treatment. To Bigham's delight, the state Senate declared that Bill 1391 was constitutional, and this was after rounds of legal challenges. Bigham said, 1391 knows kids' teenage brains are under construction and that they have a heightened capacity for change. 1391 means that authorities have to look at the backstory. They have to look at the history. They have to look at the context and deal with the issues. Not just Adrian, but other 14 and 15-year-old kids who commit very serious crimes. This development paved the way for Adrian's case to continue. And as a result, a hearing was scheduled for April 15th. On April 15th, 2021, Adrian pleaded guilty to the murder of Madyson Middleton, as well as all the other charges that were against him. However, because of the 1391 approved bill, he would only need to remain in juvenile prison until he turned 25. That was his sentence. Before his sentencing, however, he made a statement asking for forgiveness from Madyson's family. He said, "I understand there's very little I can say after all the pain and suffering I've caused. My goal is to work on my issues so that no one has to experience what you have endured. I am aware that this does not change the fact that I have brought you tragedy, loss, and devastation. I am hopeful that when I take the time to apologize, you may accept my apologies for the actions that I have done and what they have brought you." Liberating for Adrian was the fact that Michael Middleton, Madyson's father, revealed that he had come to terms with the death of his daughter and bore no grudges against Adrian. The father revealed, "That does not make anything easier. It just allows me peace. The alternative could be to hold the darkness, but this would only consume my soul. I refuse to poison my soul and existence. Forgiveness is the only path, and I believe that Madyson would agree." Michael Middleton, however, also pointed out that Adrian should have been sentenced to life imprisonment instead. He disagreed with Adrian's defense attorney, expressing how he had doubts that rehabilitation can do anything for the offender. In his words, Adrian Gonzalez should never have the opportunity to repeat these crimes again. A crime of this nature should not be swept under the rug. I do not see this scenario as possible, based on the severity and sophistication of the acts that were committed. The judge, John Salazar, who presided over Adrian's case, ruled that Adrian must also be registered as a sex offender for life. He also mentioned that since the Santa Cruz Senate Bill of 1391 states that juveniles cannot be prosecuted as adults, there were limits to the penalties he could impose on the offender. He said, "There is no way for anyone to understand the profound and absolute pain and grief a family experiences when losing a child under these circumstances. I can add that the torture of losing a child in this manner was prolonged and extended by the change in the law. Our criminal justice system has been left with no answers nor comfort that can be provided to you to mitigate what you have had to endure." When Adrian turns 25, which is October 2024, he will be released from juvenile prison and would be required to pay compensation fees of more than $22,000. While some believe that since Adrian committed this heinous crime at such a young age, he should indeed be given another shot at life, however, many others are of the opinion that 10 years in the system and a permanent spot on the sex offenders list is nowhere near a reasonable penalty for this horrific crime. Thanks for tuning in to Twisted Minds. That was the case of Adrian Gonzalez, and why don't you go ahead and click on one of the 2 videos on your screen for another one of our videos.